We are back on this episode of the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History. You will agree with me that we've been having a very great time with Professor Effiong Johnson of the Department of Theatre Arts and Film Studies at the University of Uyo. He's acquired so much experience going through the best training grounds for the Nigerian theatre and film studies in Nigeria. And he's also impacting students from different parts of Nigeria as a guru in his area of intervention in the theatre. Today we'll continue from where we stopped with his telling us about his journey in Ibadan. You know, he was not in civilians and he had to go back and dress as a civilian to appear before the panel. Now, we want to go on that excursion with him and then go on to other things outside of Ibadan. You're welcome again. Join us on YouTube every Thursday for a fresh edition of the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History. Professor Johnson, talk to me. So what happened to you?
Well, my supervisor, Honorable Bamidele, had instructed me to go and pray so that God would have mercy on me and lead me to the areas that would enable me answer Adeluba's 2 questions and have the PhD.
The threat of 2 questions?
Yes.
Before the PhD.
You know, you would think that your fate would depend on the external examiner.
Yeah.
But here was my fate.
Right inside the house.
Depending on Dr. Adeluba, the head of department.
Yes.
Because he was the oldest professor among all of these people there in the panel. And his words were almost infallible.
Akodi was also a student.
Yes. Well, at 5 o'clock, I dared to come with the same suit that I wore in the morning.
Really?
I didn't, of course, I didn't have any other change. I didn't dress like a civilian, as it were. I wore that same suit. I got to this panel of 6, so sat in a semicircular arrangement and left 2 seats facing them.
For you?
For me. And Dakbo was the one to introduce, being the head of department. He didn't allow my supervisor to introduce
me. It.
So he said to me, Mr. Johnson, you have 2 seats before you there. Choose any one you think would give you luck. I was very close to a particular seat here, so I said, I will sit on this one. He said, are you sure? I said, yes, I would like to sit on this one. He said, okay. Then he said, would you like to remove that suit? That chair is going to be hot. And I said, not exactly, sir. I should be able to absorb the heat. He said, okay. So I sat down. And he said, well, external examiner, that is Mr. Johnson before you. And the exam started. Akonji took me on 2 hours straight. Here alone. I answered questions. Then he passed me to the gentleman from African Studies. 1 hour with him. I answered questions. My supervisor, Bamidele, would be doing me like this, you know, just encouraging me. So that's how I migrated from one person to another till the last bus stop was Baba
Adeluba himself.
And Bamidele did me like this. I should just relax.
Calm down.
That so far I was doing well. He was communicating through mime and pantomime. Then Baba said, okay, there is no way your work wouldn't have relied on foreign journals. A particular foreign journal you couldn't do without in this study. What is that journal? My brother, I had more than 10 journals, foreign journals, in my work. Which one exactly? I relied on all of them. Which one exactly could Baba be
referring
about?
to?
Yes. I just said, God help me. I just mused in my mind, God help me.
You needed God.
Yes, that God I had prayed for. On this ear, I heard a whisper on this ear. Richard Shetner, the drama review. And when that name came through that whisper on my left ear, Richard Shetner, the drama review, I remember that Adeloba liked Shetner. This thing is happening in the split of seconds.
Yeah.
So, with confidence, I said, you're talking about the drama review TDR by Richard Shetner. He said, you got it. You got it. And while my supervisor was trying to say, he said, but don't celebrate. Don't celebrate. I have one more question for you. Oh my God. And it was obvious that this man wanted to kill me. How dare you go to bibliography to ask questions? Anyway, he said he had a question for another question for me. And he said, Mr. Johnson, have you ever seen the journal, The Stage? Allowing you, and that was the day I knew that if God takes you to any place in this world, it's not an accident. Take time to know a few things about that place. You will need the knowledge of that place, if not that place, in your future life.
That's right. Nothing is ever an accident.
I had stayed away from attending SONTA, Society of Nigerian Theatre Artists, conferences. I had stayed away for years. And then all of a sudden, this one that took place in ABU some time ago, I said, I must go. I didn't have a paper to present, unlike me. I said, let me just go and enjoy, scholarship. It was in that conference in ABU that Akonji Nasiru launched The Stage, a journal titled The Stage. It was the premier edition and the only edition as at that time. If I was not in ABU, I would never have known The Stage, let alone have a copy. The copies were exhausted that day. So when Baba said, have you seen the journal? Do you know the journal, The Stage? I said, yes, I do. He said, are you sure? I said, I'm very sure. He said, if you do and you are so sure, who is the editor? Who is the editor? And I said very boldly, my external examiner here, Professor Akonji Nasiru, is the editor. By this time, Akonji is fed up with Baba with such questions. So Akonji got up and said, the candidate is right, I am the one. And Baba said, you sit down, I'm not through with him yet. oh my God. And Akonji sat down and he was fuming. So Baba said, yes, you are correct. He is the editor, but can you tell me how many editions are in circulation? Akonji got up again and said, Baba, this is not the kind of questions you should ask a PhD student in his defense. He said, well, I'm asking him. As God would have it, I knew the answer. I said, please, I'm going to answer him. Akonji said, can you? I said, yes, I'm going to answer him. To the best of my knowledge, it is only one edition, the first edition. Akonji said, you are right, it's only first edition. Then Adeluba said, well, in that case, give it to him. Give the PhD to him. No, that was it. Give him the PhD. That was the end of the defense. Woo! And everybody clapped. Everybody was excited that I answered Baba's 2 questions. Wow. God helped me to answer Baba's 2 questions. So I was excused. When I came back, it was Adeluba that was reading the citation of my performance. Yes, he was so excited. And I was given the PhD. As we disembarked, he staged an unusual drama within drama. Adeluba stooped down and asked me to climb his back. How would I
Climb Adeluba's back?
for Adeluba to carry me like a baby? I was reluctant because it didn't even seem culturally alright.
Yes.
Baba is squatting and stooped down. Mr. John, now Dr. Johnson, climb my back. I said, my Prof, sir, if you don't climb my back, I'll change my mind. Landry said, climb his back, let him die if he must die. Do you know I climbed Adeluba's back?
Wow.
My thesis on my left hand, and some other thing I was holding on my right. You can imagine. And Baba is carrying me. Where were we going? We were going to the front of house. 6 professors with me. I was a spectacle, to say the least. On reaching there, about maybe 60 to 70 students had been waiting for 5 hours. My defense took 5 hours, from 5 to 10. I had the longest history of PhD defense. And these final year students who were waiting for the same Akonji
to do their viva.
Yes, that night. Adeluba said, you see this man I'm carrying? You see him the way I'm carrying him? He has done very well. He has passed for all of you. Go home, go home. Go and paint the city red. Look, come and see jubilation.
Woo!
I had passed for all of them. They should
go and celebrate.
They said before you knew it, drums came out.
I can imagine.
These are guys who were stooling in their pants, waiting for thorough Akonji that will ask you grammar from A to Z in your defense. People have been, oh my God. That was the end. Got a PhD on that high note. And from that day till Adeluba died, I was his darling. I was his darling. I was 5 years HOD of this department. Of course, Adeluba was the external examiner. He will sacrifice anything to be with me in Uyo here. I was a priority to him. All my books, about 3 out of them, Adeluba wrote the foreword for them in such a language that if he asked me write anything I would sign, I would not have been able to write. In fact, in one of them, my work, Playwriting the Fundamentals, both Nigeria and American edition of it, when Femi Oshovison, I gave a copy, saw the foreword written by Adeluba, I took the book as a presentation to him. I met him at lunch in his house. He said, Johnson, Adeluba wrote this? I said, yes, sir. He wrote. He said, Johnson, please write another book and bring to me, let me also write my own version of you. I'm telling you. So my book played production, the Nigerian and American edition, I took it to Femi. He also wrote his own version of me. Those two folks have been, you can't mention my scholarship life without chapters about
them.
Yes, till tomorrow. So that has been my sojournings, as it were, in Ibadan to get a PhD, a master's and PhD, which I'm very proud of.
So, who have you been Adeluba to?
Oh,
in Unicam.
There are many. There are many. In fact, next door here to my office is Dr. Idare Serinya, for example. I'm just citing in close proximity.
Right.
I gave her admission that Adeluba gave me. Okay.
Right.
Year 1, in first degree. I adopted her as a daughter. and recommended her as my daughter to the university to give her the only reward appointment I've ever had here. I served 5 years as Dean of Students without a dent and won 3 national awards for the university. In that office. So the university wanted to honor me. The Vice Chancellor, within his tenure, these things happened, said to me, Johnson, you have done well for the university. Bring your brother or sister or a relation. Let the university give him or her a job. There I said, it's not my daughter per se. It's just someone I adopted as a daughter. She's the one I presented.
Wow.
She was given a job. University trained her for a master's. University trained her for a PhD in South Africa.
Wow.
That looks like what Adeluba did to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He's a young man here, just finished his master's, he started his PhD. He was a self-sponsored student. I gave him the key to my office. All the books are here. Read here. He literally lived in this office.
He read.
He read and had first class. The first class this university, this department has produced in 30 years. Wow. And having had that first class, the Vice Chancellor then, the last but one, came to pay me a visit. I was friendly. I've contested to be the VC also, so I was friendly. I'm still friendly with Vice Chancellor.
That's right.
If they come around this zone, they will stop over in my office. So one of such visits, he came around the area and came to my office. Sat him down and said, now that you've come, there's something you must do for me. This is the first class this department has produced, and I would want him retained.
You should not let him go.
Don't let him go. This young man served in Ilorin. Ilorin wanted to grab him by all means. He said, no, he had to come back to you. VC said, the embargo on employment had been, closed, all kinds of stuff. I said, look, within your portfolio,
you can find a way.
You can find a way. The long and short is, that young man was the only first class, among first classes, the only one given a job. Now he's finished his master's and he's on his PhD.
Wonderful.
I've encouraged colleagues here. When I was the head of department, my friend Abati was one of the first to stand over there.
You wanted to write and go.
Yes. I joined. Then others joined. We wrote the exam from 9 o'clock till 9 o'clock the next day. Yes. All the staff, it had never happened. We were the guinea pigs of that department, my class. All the lecturers reported, nobody slept. They were in their offices. To say the exam, this exam was to praise it for 2 weeks.
Yes.
That day, we'll finish writing. The lecturer will mark, take the scripts to Carodos in the wherever she was, conference center. Another paper, department gave us biscuit and tea or coke after each paper. 3 hours. First one, second one, till you wouldn't feel the Bible anymore in your hand.
Like this recall.
That is how, and I think the very last paper, I'm the one that carried the Deluba with the scripts in my car to go and drop for Carodos Conference Center. That is how we wrote our exams, MA, 1 full semester exams in one day. That never happened.
I never had it before. I never had that before.
Made that to happen, and we had to squeeze ourselves into that box with him.
Whoa. Now, you were talking about your experience in Ibadan, and I was asking you how you've influenced such impactful things at Uyo. You've spoken about 2 candidates. Are you satisfied with how theater is taught now? Do you think people are working as hard as when you joined theater arts as a student, as a master's degree, as a PhD? Do you think the curriculum is meeting the needs for today?
Oh, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. I think the major problem is that of fallen standards. The kind of students we have now coming to study theater arts, or any discipline for that matter, are lower in intellectuality than what we used to have.
Explain that.
I'm going to explain that. Okay, in my time in Calabar, for example, one crazy lecturer, Mr. Effiong, would recommend 38 scripts for us to read in a course titled Textual Interpretation of Theater Arts Studies. 38 scripts across the world on different themes, which we did. And you finish that course, you can take on the world.
Yeah. On the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History, for this episode, we'll be continuing with Professor Effiong Johnson on his exciting journey in Ibadan with his mentor and who is also his albatross, Professor Dakwa Deluba. Join us the same time next week, Thursday, when we come back for another episode on the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History.